If you opened up the forum, went to the opinion page, you saw this on that page. Company mischaracterized in heated Senate campaign. Recently, our company, Goldmark Property Management, has been a focal point in a highly contested Senate race. We have been unfairly labeled in this campaign rhetoric. We want to address this attack on our employees, our business partners, and our residents because what is being said about our company does not reflect the reality of what they know to be true. It is unfair to our company, our employees, and especially the residents who make their homes in the apartments we manage to suggest that we mistreat them. Managing apartment homes is a challenging business involving interactions with thousands of residents and prospects every month. There are strict laws we follow on many fronts, especially about holding a resident responsible for the contract they have signed, the payment of rent, and the condition of the property. By the very nature of our industry, there will be complaints filed. But more than 99% of our contracts are without formal complaints. We are the first to say we're not perfect. When we do miss something, we work to make it right. Our business is much more complicated than a soundbite in a radio or television commercial can accurately portray. And that makes us an easy target. Joining me on the program is one of the gentlemen that was behind that letter, and he is the executive vice president and CFO of Goldmark Property Management. He, along with Brad Williams and Dale Helving, put this letter in the forum. Kurt Bowman joins us on the Jay Thomas Show. How you doing, Kurt?
I'm well, thank you, and you?
Hey, doing good. I'm glad I'm not in the position you guys are right now. I'll tell you what, this campaign is a very heated campaign. And Heidi Heitkamp's campaign, well, with other outside groups that are pumping money into the campaign, and not to say that other groups don't pump money into Rick Berg's campaign, they do, have decided that they are going to make Rick Berg's ties with Goldmark a center issue in this campaign. And I now, for the last couple of weeks, have been saying, look, my time at Goldmark, I never dealt with Rick Berg up there, and I was in a management position. And yesterday I explained to people, hey, these are separate companies. At no time did I ever see Rick Berg sit in on a budget meeting when we did the yearly budget meetings. At no time did I ever have to deal with Rick Berg or send a tenant to Rick Berg regarding a situation in an apartment. And, Goldmark, I think, gets a lot of heat. I mean, Goldmark is not perfect. No company is perfect. Do you make mistakes? Sure, all companies make mistakes. Goldmark is the biggest property management company in the area. The more people you deal with, the more chance you're going to have of someone complaining. And you guys are coming out and saying, hey, look, why are you making us the focal point and dragging us into this campaign? How tough has this been for Goldmark, Kurt?
Well, I think the toughest and most frustrating part of all of this is really the absolute, slander that primarily the Democratic groups have put upon the employees of Goldmark Property Management. If you think about, the guerrilla tactics that have been used in this campaign, and frankly, if politicians attack each other on either side of the aisle, I could care less. Mm-hmm. I really could care less. But what they have done is, under the laws that they're allowed to operate, if you think back to the first radio ad that they ran, and one of the first lines is, that we have been sued more than 100 times for withholding deposits for no good reason, and Rick Berg's company. I mean, these are, first off, just the fact that this is not Rick Berg's company. Rick Berg has not had a policy-making position or a position of influence with Goldmark Property Management for more than a quarter century, for heaven's sake.
That was what, like 26 some odd years ago?
26 years ago. And even then it was a minority position. And when they run that ad, what they're saying, Jay, is Kurt Bowman does not have an ounce of integrity because he would work for a company that would intentionally cheat their residents.
Well, it's
and they're saying that about every employee of Goldmark. And, as you pointed out, we have a huge number of laws that we have to abide by.
People don't realize, unless they've been in the business, how tough the fair housing laws are. I mean, folks, I'm going to explain this to you again. I was in the maintenance side of things. Let's say somebody in the hallway came up and said, "Hey, Jay, can you run in here and fix this?" I say, "Yeah, I can do that." If I do that for one person, I'm basically breaking fair housing because I got to do it for everybody. People don't realize how complex these fair housing are. You can't cut one person a break. You can't do that. You've got to follow the rules that are in place.
And getting back to the biggest slap and insult has been to the employees. You think about, Heidi comes out and she endorses that ad, okay?
Mm-hmm.
From a political standpoint, I can guarantee you that all employees of Goldmark Property Management, I don't know how they vote, but I know some are going to vote for Rick and some are going to vote for Heidi. She's coming out and saying to those employees, you are a part of a company that has no integrity and no character, and they're just absolute lies. They take a fraction of truth, and they spin it in such a way that it makes us look like villains, and it's just absolutely untrue. There's no way that we could be in business and stay in business for more than 31 years doing the kind of things that they insinuate. It's absolutely insulting.
And have the amount of buildings you have in your portfolio, and I don't think people realize that too, a majority of what Goldmark has in their portfolio is owned by other people. The Goldmark's job is to manage it for people. If they were that bad, these people wouldn't come to your company and say, "Hey, Goldmark, we want you to run our buildings for us."
I'll just correct you in one thing. It's not a majority. 100%
okay, 100.
of the buildings that we manage, Goldmark owns no property whatsoever. Our customer, we are dealing with the owners of these properties, and there are hundreds of customers that we're dealing with. And to your point, if Goldmark were that evil, that terrible of a company, would anybody want us to represent them? I think not.
Let's okay, the ads that are running now, Kurt, the real estate license, what is that all about? What are they trying to insinuate here? I don't get that one.
What they're doing is trying to hammer at Rick Berg, and they're taking his press conference and they're saying Rick said he had no involvement. They've had detectives out now for investigators out for months before this story or this ad first ever broke, and they're going to all of the public records that they can find, and they're pulling up anything that has Goldmark on it, mm-hmm. and Rick Berg, and they're trying to say, okay, Rick, you said you had no involvement, but what about this real estate license? When I first heard that story, I went out and talked to the long-term veterans here and said, is Goldmark Schlossman ever, or has Goldmark Property Management ever been a licensed real estate broker in this state? And the answer was absolutely not. We go back through, and we have to get the records from the state. We go back through that, and we find that an application was signed in December of 1994 for a 1995 license. It said Goldmark Property Management, Inc. on it. 6 months later, it was corrected to Goldmark Investment Corporation. But once again, that shred of truth is spun. The same people that spun that shred did they report that it was corrected? Nope, didn't report that, did they?
And it was corrected years ago. Years ago.
It was corrected in in July the 7th, 1995, 6 months after the first application was filed.
I need to take a quick break. Kurt, can you hang through the break?
Sure.
Okay, when we come back, more with he's the executive vice president and he's the CFO of Goldmark Property Management. Kurt Bohlman joins us to clear up what's turned into, we should be talking about the economy. We should be talking about, how you're going to fix the economy. All North Dakota's economy is pretty good, but, how we're going to deal with issues in North Dakota. And it seems this whole campaign now has just turned into a bloodbath against a Goldmark because, 26 plus years ago, Rick Berg had something to do with it, and I'm getting to see the executive vice president on to clear this up and get rid of these they're lies. So you people, when you go to the polls, you have the facts. 293-9000. This is the Jay Thomas Show.
He doesn't color outside the lines to off radio. Somebody had to.
354 Jay Thomas Show. 293-9000, toll free, 888-970-9329. He is the executive vice president and CFO of Goldmark Property Management, Kurt Bohlman. I got lines are full. And if you're just tuning in, we are talking about the campaign that it is getting ugly between Rick Berg and Heidi Heitkamp. But something that's got drug into this campaign is Rick Berg's former ties to Goldmark years ago, and what now is being proven to be lies in these ads. And Goldmark finally saying, you know what, we've had enough. You're bad mouthing. You're saying bad things. You're lying about a company that has a lot of good employees that has been doing business for years, and enough is enough already. And I wanted Kurt to come on and have the opportunity to explain what we are hearing in these ads, because of course Kurt has the knowledge, being in the position that he has. And you just heard the latest ad out there is regarding Rick Berg's real estate license, which he applied for back in '94 for 1995, and there was a mistake that it was put for Goldmark Property Management, and they changed it around and said no, that's wrong. It should be for investments, and that was like right after 6 months after Rick filed for it. Correct, Kurt?
That's correct.
All right, you folks that are waiting on hold, very simple. If you're calling and you have a question that you have regarding the ads that you're hearing, that's fine. But if you're going to call and start asking questions regarding you renting or have rented from Goldmark, I'm going to dump you. That's not what we're doing here. If you have a legitimate question about something you're hearing in these ads and you want to know if it's true or not, then I'll take your phone call. But otherwise, I'm going to dump you. It's that simple. That's not what we're doing here. Jill, you're going to go first on the Jay Thomas Show.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Now, there's a reason that Rick Berg didn't want to be associated with Goldmark in those ads, and it's because they have a terrible reputation.
All right, I said we're not going down that road. Richard, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, just think if a certain radio station was still held accountable for every stupid thing Ed Schultz says and does. But with that being said, do you remember Earl Strinden?
Yep, I sure do.
He's a former politician. Oddly enough, and sadly enough, I was listening to the other guy this morning, and he called in, and he told them that he was involved with another management company at the time, and they both had something. It had something to do with Goldmark. And he told Joel, he said, Rick Berg never had anything to do with it, period. Straight out, and this guy would have no reason to lie. And then he asked him what the name of the company that, the management company was, and he had told him, and after they finished talking, the guy hung up, and the first thing he said is, well, we're just going to have to investigate this other company, this other management company.
Even after
Rick was involved with that.
Even after Earl said Rick had no involvement at all.
Right, exactly. And after he hung up with Rick, he came out and he said, well, we're going to have to investigate this other management company and see if Rick has any involvement with them. I'm just like...
Yeah, it's just...
No matter what you do, they're not going to be happy.
And that's why I wanted to get this out. Hey, I got to do news and weather. Kurt, can we hook back up with you on the other side of news and weather? Because I have some other questions regarding these ads.
Sure.
All right, we'll call you back, so I don't want you to have to wait on hold through the break, Kurt. When we come back, folks, hang on. We're going to have more. He is the Executive Vice President, and he's the CFO for Goldmark Property Management. Kurt Bowman joins us on the program. If you have a question regarding something you're hearing in the ads or question, those calls I'll take. Jill, I don't mean to hang up on you, Jill, but this is not about getting on and saying, you're upset, whatever. This is about the ads that are out there right now. More of the Jay Thomas Show coming up.
You downloaded.
Jay Thomas Show, Hour 3. 9 minutes after 4 o'clock. 293-9000, 888-970-9329. Email talk@wday.com. He is the Executive Vice President and CFO of Goldmark Property Management, Kurt Bowman.
When the lights go down in the California town, people are in for the
He continues with us on the program this afternoon, and we are discussing the campaign ads out regarding Rick Berg and his alleged involvement with Goldmark Property Management, which Goldmark adamantly, as well as Rick Berg, says, I've been part of that company for 26 plus years. You have those ads, you have the ads regarding Rick's real estate license. I believe TV stations the story originally came out that us included in Valley News were going to pull the ads, but it wasn't that we were going to pull the ads. I think we asked the organization that's doing the ads, hey, you need to fix these ads. There's some what we feel untruths in here. Now, if you have a question for my guest, 293-9000, I'm going to tell you right now, the question needs to be, the questions are only if you have a question regarding the ads that you're seeing in this campaign. Something in the ad that you're questioning or you want more information on, that's what we're doing. We're not, I don't want to hear I don't like Goldmark or this or that. Or they took I don't want to hear that stuff. That's not what this is about. This is about getting it straight when it comes to this campaign. And we'll get back to the calls in a second. Kurt, thanks for the time this afternoon. Has this hurt Goldmark business?
I don't think it has. It would be too early to tell. Goldmark runs and has run a great company, and we have former residents that might not be happy with how we held them accountable on their contracts. Yes, there are people like that, but our occupancy is good, and we provide great homes for people. So long term, it is just the attack on the employees that I think really bothers me the most.
Are the employees at Goldmark coming to their managers or to you, Kurt, and saying, "Man, this is really getting me down"? Is this starting to have an effect on them?
We got a great group. It's the look. Frankly, it's the look in their face when they say, "Did you see us on TV again? Did you see what they're saying about us again?" No one is coming and saying, "This has got me down," but you can see that hurt look that, I've been working here 15, 20, 25 years. We pour our heart and soul into this. We're trying to do a good job. We're trying to provide our customers with the best possible service. And look at what they're saying about us. And it's not even true, and they can get away with it. That's the part that bothers me the most.
Rick has been accused on other radio shows of, and by the way, folks, just so you know, we've extended out to Rick Berg's campaign. Rick Berg, we will get an hour with him in studio in the very near future. Also offering that same deal to Heidi Heitkamp to come into the studio for 1 hour. And address questions from the listeners, and I'm quite sure this will be brought up. Rick's been accused by other talk show hosts, Kurt, of tossing his former partners in Goldmark under the bus to save his arse. And is there any belief to that from the folks at Goldmark?
My personal opinion is I watched Rick's it just slipped my mind.
When he flew back?
The press conference that he had on the first ads. And did Rick do a good job? In Kurt Bowman's opinion, no, he did not. Mm-hmm. But what I think Rick was trying to say is, I don't think he was trying to say Goldmark is a bad company, or I'm throwing my former partners underneath the bus. I think what he was trying to say is, I had nothing to do with that company, and if there's something in that company you don't like, that has nothing to do with the political part. If you want, if you're after me, come after me, but don't go after Goldmark. Personally, I think he could have done a much better job, because if you take a step back, and even that first ad, if you dissect that ad objectively, it doesn't take but a few minutes to understand what they put out is so spun, and we have addressed that with facts. And if people would go to goldmarkis.com, we've published all the facts behind those allegations. And could Rick have done a better job? Yes. Kurt Bowman's opinion, I think he could have done a better job. And if he would have explained it more thoroughly, I think he would have taken the wind out of the sails. Mm-hmm. But, frankly, rather than spend time on the issues, the Democrats are now going after Rick, but they're attacking a great company and a superb group of employees. It's frustrating.
They're taking a company. They're trying to take a company down that should have nothing to do with this political campaign. Let me address a couple other things, and I know I've got callers waiting. Anthony, I promise you'll be the first one here in a second. So just hold on, callers. Let me address some of the other issues that came out when the first story came out, Kurt. Published in the forum, there was the accusation, Kurt has something to do with the company. When master keys were lost back in 2000, 2 or 3, Rick Berg was the spokesman, addressed the media on that situation. Why did Rick Berg, and I worked at the company then, I remember that. Why did Rick Berg, why was he the go-to guy for that story?
The base reason, the simplest, quickest explanation is Rick was never asked to. He was a part of Goldmark Schlossman. The media contacted Rick Berg. Our 2 top operations people were out at the site working with the key situation, because as you know, in this industry, we take that very seriously. They're out working with the situation. 2 of the shareholders that probably would have taken calls were out of the office, and the media contacted Rick Berg. And Rick, like anybody, Rick, he wants to be of service to residents. He wants to be of service to people in the community and to his former partners. He's not going to say, I'm in it with a different company. I'm not going to do that. He's going to address it.
That was a major situation. You had master keys that were gone. You got tenants that are worried. Somebody had to address the situation, and I brought it up on my program a couple weeks back. Did I not, Larry? I said I was there. I know why Rick Berg was addressing the media, because the powers to be were not available. Somebody had to speak to the media, because you got thousands of tenants going, what the hell's going on? The master keys. You can't not just address that. Whether you're with Goldmark Property Management or not, if you're in the building, somebody needs to explain to the tenants out there that, hey, look, you're going to be fine. We're getting the locks changed. I remember that. Now, has Rick, because I know that there's some folks out there trying to dig up a story, so I'm going to ask you, has Rick Berg ever dealt with a tenant when a tenant had an issue of getting out of their lease?
I've been here 3 years, and Rick has never dealt with a tenant or representatives directly. What has happened, even during my 3 years here, people will contact a congressional office. They will, and that office will pass along to us, or they'll contact Rick Berg somehow and say, I want to talk to my congressman, or I heard you own Goldmark. Out of a service, again, he passes those along. We deal with them, and we deal with them directly. and he doesn't set policy. He doesn't determine if someone can be let out of their lease or not. I think I know the situation to which you're referring.
Yeah, and I'm not going to bring up any names because she wants to remain anonymous and understand that. But I think we're on the same page.
But she worked with the gentleman down the hall from me, not Rick Berg. They tried to work it out. She was not happy, and I think her mother contacted Rick Berg, and I don't know if he delivered the message that, this is what I have heard or so on and so forth. But again, those are anecdotal situations along with this supposed fraudulent license thing and listed in the paper, or the AP listed him as a spokesman. I've been interviewed dozens of times, and they put down, they say, "What's your title?" and I give them my title, and then they fill in a name. They don't worry about separations of companies. These are anecdotal situations. They do not constitute legal ownership. They don't constitute policy setting or procedure setting. That's what is so incredibly frustrating, is that the groups that are trying to attack Rick Berg, they're not even working with legally binding sets of information. They're working with anecdotal nonsense, and they're using these guerrilla tactics, and we're the ones that are taking the hits.
They're dragging your company, not your company, well, it is, you're executive vice president, so you look at it as your company. They're dragging your company and your employees into a fight that they should not be drug into. Anthony, you're up on a Jay Thomas Show. Thanks for hanging on so long there, Anth.
Yeah, just three quick things. Why is it taking so long for a rebuttal to those ads and people, saying, hey, it's not right? And why are they still running? And then when does this become slanderous for Goldmark?
Great questions. I'll let Kurt address each one of those. Kurt, can you address those?
Yeah, I can. Part of it, sir, part of it is maybe some of my being a little bit naive. I expected that after the first ad ran and we published the facts, that someone on their side who is spinning this stuff would say, "Oh, we have our facts wrong. Let's move on to a different subject." Naive on my part, I don't think they have a vested interest in the truth. I think it's hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. As to the length of time, believe it or not, we have a business to run, whoever's putting these ads out, and we work a lot of hours trying to provide great homes for our customers and our residents. And although this has been very distracting, we really believed that by putting out the facts that this was going to go away. And finally, amongst ourselves, we said, listen, we have to put something out, because again and again, our employees are being indirectly and directly hammered over political nonsense. And we thought let's let it blow over, but you know what? I don't think they're going to stop. I anticipate next week there's going to be there's a juicy issue that's been going on since 2009. They're gonna spin that baby, and
well, give us a heads up so people can be aware and be ready for it. What's the juicy issue?
Well, it's in the website that I listed all the details, but in summary, in 2008 we made a decision based on advice of counsel on trying to recover some of our costs with assistance animals in buildings that don't allow pets.
Yep, I remember that.
And as anticipated, we were sued in 2009, and we have been going through that process. And I signed some settlement papers that we're working through the courts on about a week or two ago. And it's been in the forum. It's been, I think I talked to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
more than once.
Yep.
I've talked to other radio stations and TV stations over the 3 years, and it's fraught with juicy terms like discrimination and disabled people, and I can't imagine that their spin doctors are sitting back and are going to let that one lie. With these guerrilla tactics, they can take a fraction of a truth, and boy, they can spin it. And they're going to do that.
Well, if that comes out, if that does happen, well, I'll be making a phone call to get you back on the program again to rebut on all of that.
And then the last part of the gentleman's question is, when does this become slanderous?
Yep, and I've got a stack of emails, I mean a ton of them, Kurt, from people asking that question. At what point do you turn this into a lawsuit, or are you even considering that?
Okay. I'm not an attorney, so this is not an attempt to practice law without a license. But what I understand about slander and libel is you need to prove two things. Number one, that the statement made was untrue, and number two, you have to prove it caused damage. Well, to the damages portion, that could take months or years to ever prove that there was damage. But to whether it was true or not, all they need is a sliver of truth. For example, Goldmark Property, or Rick Berg's company, Goldmark Property Management, has been sued more than 100 times for unfairly withholding deposits. Have we been sued over 31 years more than 100 times? Yes or no? Yes, we have. Did those plaintiffs who filed those claims believe it was unfair to them? I'm sure they did.
Otherwise, they would have filed.
That's right. Okay, so those two fragments are true, but what they don't talk about is the vast majority of those times Goldmark prevails because we take great efforts to follow the law. And Heidi, of all people, an attorney should know you can file a lawsuit at any time for any reason, for good cause or not. And they file a claim, we address the claim, and with rare exception, do we lose. And because we follow the law. But that isn't spun in those ads.
Let's see. I know we're about out of time here, so I'm going to grab just a couple more calls, and we're going to make them quick. And I know you got to get rolling. I got to get to news. And, Kurt, I do appreciate all the time this afternoon. Roger J. Thomas Show. Go ahead. Thanks for hanging on, buddy.
Sounds to me like if Berg wouldn't have claimed of his previous employer, they wouldn't have all this problem right now.
Well, you know what?
You get on an application, they use Goldmark as his previous employer, replacement employment. That wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't be going through this right now. Berg's the one you should be talking to.
I'm going to place that in the form of a question. You're right. You're 100% correct. But you know what? In December of 1994, when he signed the application that was filled out for him by at that time a clerical person, and we've talked to the clerical person. The clerical person had good cause in their mind to put that down. Okay, honest mistake. It was not malicious, but we're transacting business on a daily basis. Mistakes are made by every business continuously, and when we catch them, we try and correct them, or we correct them. Now we're talking about 2012. They're going to go back and try and claim that he did in fact have affiliation. It again, with the beauty of 20/20 hindsight, you can go back and twist fragments of the truth to try and prove a predetermined conclusion.
Raj, does that answer your question? Now Rogers is gone. Shane, you're going to get the last one here. I'm running way behind, but I didn't want to have to break again. I wanted to be able to get as much time in here with Kurt and the callers as I can. Shane, I'm going to give you the last one. Go ahead, buddy.
All right, man. I'd just like to say I think the whole point everybody's missing, it doesn't matter where he worked or when he worked there. The whole point is the guy's just shady. He's a snake in the grass. I mean, that's the point everybody should be worried about.
Shane?
Not what he did or where he worked, or just look at the man. I mean, he's just not right for North Dakota.
Shane, appreciate the phone call. Must be calling from the Dem side, of course. Kurt, anything else before I let you go? And again, thanks for all the time. And again, folks, we will have Rick Berg in studio at some point here in the very near future, talk to his people today, and it's going to be a sit down, and he's going to take phone calls, and I'm offering the same thing to Heidi Heitkamp to come in studio for 1 hour. Go ahead, Kurt.
Jay, if I could just get 1 point, actually 2 points across. Number one, if anybody's actually interested in an objective review of the information, again, go to www.goldmarkis.com.
And that's where all the information is on these ads, correct?
And the second, yes, it is. Thank you. And the second point I'd like to make, Heidi and your group, if you're listening, and Rick Berg and your group, if you're listening, you know what? Go beat each other's brains out. I don't care. Just leave a great North Dakota company and its fine employees out of your political games, because we are sick of it.
Hey, Kurt, well said. You know what? You're right. A company should not be drug into this. This fight should be between Rick and Heidi and what they're going to do to address issues in the country and what they're going to do to represent the state. And wow, I mean, you laid it out there, Kurt. Good for you, man. You know, you're not hiding. You're not afraid to say, hey, look, this is wrong. Rick was with this company many years ago, but I don't like what you're doing to us. Good for you, man. Kurt, appreciate the time this afternoon, and I'm quite sure we'll be talking in the future, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, you got it. All right, that is the Executive Vice President from Goldmark and CFO. Man, he just laid it on the line. Holy God. Did you hear that, Kurt?